variable because the relationship between the gender or sex and then the skin carotenoid score differed across different nationality. And for the right-hand side box, the percent body fat was negatively correlated. And one study looked at it and they found negative, association and so on. So these are the list of the factors which were considered in the reviewed studies, but none of the studies found significant association between these factors for the children's skin carotenoid score. Again, in the parentheses, it should be read as 1 out of 1 study for the ethnicity and so on. So moving on, so for the validity and reliability evidence, we could not find research studies that determined validity or reliability of reflection spectroscopy in children. However, some of them were reporting criteria-related validity for reflection spectroscopy for children's dietary intake of fruits and vegetables that we included in the meta-analysis. But none of the studies reported other types of validation or, and reliability. So for suggested future research, they can, it will be helpful for the research community and for our knowledge and basically science that we determine criteria-related validity with the plasma carotenoids or a resonance Raman spectroscopy method. And then range of the skin carotenoid score across children from different nationalities that should also be kind of revisited. And because in the reviewed study, we found that Japan has, like, children in the Japan has high skin carotenoid score range compared to the children in the US. And finally, we also need to understand the repeatability of the score. I know I'm a little bit out of my time, so I'm gonna move really fast now. So this is the results for the meta-analysis determining the effect size for criteria-related validity of reflection spectroscopy, and we found a small correlation to 0.20, and you can see that these are the 4 studies, and you can see the sample sizes in here, and then the correlation sizes are in here. Okay. So these are the methods they have used to assess children's diet. And you can see there were diet record and survey and food frequency questionnaire and recall. And these were the age ranges. So implications for future research, we kind of need to have for methods, it is better to have multiple data points rather than single data points for the skin carotenoid score data collection. And also it is important that researchers are interested to measure carotenoid-rich fruits and vegetable consumption and not overall fruits and vegetable consumption for children, because it's not doing a good job considering the weak correlation, 0.2. And although I showed a long list of non-dietary correlates that were non-significant, it's ideal that we still consider the correlates considering the small number of studies reviewed in here. And future research studies should determine the dose-response relationship between children's skin carotenoid and children's carotenoid consumption, probably with the juice intervention study, and also important to determine the cutoff points for low versus high score for reflection spectroscopy for children in different countries. So, and then this is interesting for me because, Vegimeter or reflection spectroscopy can be really conveniently used to track children's carotenoid-rich fruits and vegetable consumption. And that can be an important implication for the federal food and nutrition assistance programs like WIC, SNAPET, CSCFP. The limitations for this systematic review was that the meta-analysis, number of studies were only 4. So when you are using these particular values, we should interpret it with caution. And then all the reviewed studies were in English language, and we also had studies with who were conducted with adults, but also included children. And these are the funding information. I thank our funders. And these are the 2 references primarily. And this is a new research article that we got really recently published, and that will give you some more insights about using reflection spectroscopy in children. And thanks.
Thank you so much, Saima. At this time, we can open it to the group for any questions.
Yeah, I also wanted to introduce that Virginia Stage has made it to the call. So Virginia, if you wanted to pop on and say hello.
Hi, everyone. Virginia State, NC State University. I apologize for being late. We had a science museum field trip this morning, so happy to be here.
Thank you so much to both of our speakers. It's been great to sort of track the progress of what you've both been doing and finally get to hear a presentation summarizing your work with the Veggie meter has been really great. I think at this time we want to open up open up any questions for Saima specifically, and then move into our conversation. I'll start. I have a logistic question just because I'm not familiar with the tool that NHLBI screening tool or the risk of bias tool. Is that primarily for observational studies or?
That's a really good question, Dr. Rachel. So NHLBI is really easy to use. It has separate set of questions for each different type of study design. So you have it for observational studies like cross-sectional or cohort, or you have like RCD, or even if for the systematic review quality checking, there is a set of questions you can use. And they set it up as you don't want to say that this study has poor quality versus good quality. They want you to say high versus low risk of bias, particularly related to your particular research question you are trying to answer to. Yeah, so that's why I like the NHLBI too. And stroke checklist, as we already know, just only for cross-sectional or observational.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you. I've been looking into new tools to use, so thank you for sharing that information with me. There are some updates in the chat here. Amy Schweitzer shared that Dr. Faraji used the screener that was validated at the Grand Forks Human Nutrition Research Center. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And then Susan shared that there was from Faraji's paper, Dr. Faraji's paper, no association of skin tone for relationship between plasma carotenoids and skin carotenoids, and shared the beta and P values for both finger and inner arm. So thank you for sharing that in the chat.
I do have a second question for Saima. In reading your paper, you found that age wasn't a correlate. Did that surprise you, or I guess was that expected based off of your knowledge working with the preschool population and into kind of older childhood?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So what is happening in there, when I was doing my systematic review, I had that insight that the paper which was reporting that age wasn't significant was kind of like with the below 5-year-olds. So I guess it also kind of about children having their own like control of their own food habit or dietary habit. That kind of plays into it, and also kind of types of foods, like foods they are getting served. So preschool children's diet quality are the highest level of quality right now in the US, if you look at the national diet quality. And that's why probably kind of with age, sometimes there's like for older children, sometimes there is age is not making any difference because they are all kind of school going children, and preschool is kind of a different setup, kind of like that. So, but it's hard to say because there were not like a very wide range of age groups that were I could review in my systematic review. Sorry, I cannot answer this very well.
I'm thinking quantity wise too, right? Preschoolers consume a lot less just calorically wise. So I would think that maybe the older children would have higher scores just because they're consuming more. But like you said, quality definitely plays. Yeah, a lot of interesting hypotheses I think can be drawn from your work. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Hey,